You know, a few days ago, I was what I'll call MMO Doomscrolling. I was downloading all of them, logging in for about 10 minutes, running around and logging out. You know, kind of like how you just scroll through Twitter or Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to say Facebook, but I nearly aged myself then because no one doom scrolls through Facebook anymore. I'm learning. I'm learning that Facebook is an old person thing, and I'm slowly migrating over to only Twitter and Instagram. And
So you say
Discord.
OnlyFans then?
OnlyFans. Oh no, that's for next year. Don't worry, we've got
Yeah.
plans for that.
That's for the next apocalypse, that is.
But when I was kind of MMO doom scrolling, logging in, running around, logging out, I thought to myself, this would be so much more fun if I had some friends to play with. So I contacted some guys and said, hey, come and play some games with me. And they went, oh, should we play World of Warcraft? And I went, no, it would take you ages to get to where I am, or you'd have to buy a boost. Should we play Final Fantasy? Same thing, I'd have to start a new character, and the first start is slow, and you don't get to work together until we get the first Sastasha, the dungeon. I eventually came to the realization that there are not that many MMORPGs that allow me casually, as a higher level player, to just jump in, almost like couch co-op style, with a friend immediately. Those kind of games are much more multiplayer RPGs, or kind of like co-op games. Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, and Guild Wars 1 are fantastic at it. Guild Wars 2, whenever someone says to me, hey, let's play an MMORPG, Guild Wars 2 is the first one I suggest, because I know that I can just go back to their area and we can play together straight away. Do you think maybe, and I would like this, do you think maybe we're going to see more multiplayer RPGs that aren't necessarily MMOs that divide people by level?
I think there's two ways to solve this. One of them is, as you've said, not dividing, but like just throw levels out. You know, that would solve that problem. But again, bringing it back to RuneScape, you can go and play with people of vastly different levels.
But can you do anything meaningful with them? Because I thought about this when I have friends who come and join me in RuneScape, and I'm 50 levels higher than them in every stat. Is there anything meaningful I can do with them?
I would say so. I mean, every time I've hopped into RuneScape to just play with some friends, even if we're like 30 levels different, we'll go do some bandos. Get some stuff.
What if they can't even get there? That's the problem. That's where I'm looking, where they're like level 10 or 20 and everything.
Yeah. Okay, in that case, yes, there's nothing combat you can do together. You can go skilling together. Like, there is always something to do. There's mini games that you can do. Like, you can go do castle wars, and they can be, you know, caving in the mines and stuff while you're defending them. You need to give players enough reason or enough what's the
Like the
it's
carrot
kind of
and the
a hard
stick,
one
the
to
driving
explain.
force to do it.
Yeah, don't just give them one number that defines the player, because in WoW, yes, your professions really only help you. But you've got your level, and that defines the sort of player level you can play with.
And this is why, as I've become more accustomed to this, level scaling, and especially downscaling higher level players to lower leveled players to allow teams to kind of work together, has started to appeal much more to me, because I've understood the benefits to the casual player base as opposed to just the hardcore player base. And I made a video many years ago saying level scaling was bad, and I approached it from the idea of level scaling the enemies down to the player is bad, because the player never feels any sense of progression, because they never take on a ridiculously tough enemy that becomes an easy enemy to them in a few weeks' time because they've leveled up. But level scaling a high player down to a low player actually does allow that difficulty to be approached by everyone. Because, you know, you go to a dungeon with 2 or 3 of your mates and you're super high level and they're not, you feel kind of useless, because you either kill every enemy in one hit or you don't do anything to make sure you don't kill every enemy in one hit. You want to still be given a challenge.
My opinion on this is probably going to be a very unpopular one. Anytime I see level scaling, instant turn off to me. Do not care. And the reason is, if you're giving someone a task to do based off it being meaningful, such as leveling up, if you then have to make it meaningful by removing that, and that's the only way you can do that, you've done leveling wrong. Like, the initial scaling between levels is wrong. And a good example of this is, I can't remember the exact statistic from level-wise, but in World of Warcraft, a level 6 player and a level 14 player are something like 11 times more powerful, or something like that. And it's just, You look at it and it's like you're basically doubling your power in that bracket every level.
So
Like, it doesn't need to be that.
Do you think maybe it should be a case of a maximum level player should be obviously more powerful than a beginner player, but not to like a godlike degree?
Absolutely. And this is why RuneScape does it really well. Levels take longer to obtain, and they are minute buffs per level. Like, you know that a level 30 and a level 40 player can have a PvP battle, and the level 30 can win based on skill. If you do that in World of Warcraft, where they're both geared appropriately, one's level 30, one's level 40, you will trash them. You'll two-shot them.
This is why I like that Guild Wars 1 caps out at level 20. And when I went back to do some Guild Wars 1 missions with people, which is a game I love playing in my free time, I think it's a brilliant RPG, it does level some people down to the map you're on. The map itself has a maximum level. So the map may be maximum level 6. So even if you come back to this map after level 6, you will fight as if you are level 6. So if your friend is like, hey, I'm level 5, but I'm trying to do this map and I'm stuck, you can't come down with your level 20 massive skill and smash everything. You can come back and help them as a level 6. And the reason I'm starting to appreciate this more is it means that my friend is here to help, not carry. My friend is actually going to have to work for this still, and I'm still going to have to work for this.
Yeah, and I feel that whenever I see that an MMO has used level scaling in any capacity, it tells me that their leveling system is fundamentally broken. Because leveling is the reward, right? Let's take a look at WoW. You are rewarded only when you reach maximum level. In between there, it's all meaningless. So when you reach max level and then you're downscaled to a lower level to give it meaning again, it shows that it still doesn't have meaning.
Might be Guild Wars 2 that I'm thinking of with the level scaling. I think Guild Wars 1 was you can just voluntarily remove your own skill points. Yeah, Guild Wars 2 levels you down to the map. And Guild Wars 1, when you go into a city, you can just voluntarily take your own skill points away until you are the recommended level of whatever that area should be, which a couple of friends did. And I find it much more fun when I'm with a party that is the recommended level for the challenge ahead.
Oh, definitely. But think about it like this. Let's say if WoW did that way, they scale you back down to the zone you're in, like to the recommended level. Your incentive to get higher level than a character is to make it easier to kill that creature and be more efficient at farming the goods from it, the drops. If that reward is then automatically taken away from you, you have no incentive other than being told that you should.
So is it a thing that we could voluntarily put players into? Instead of forcing them to, we could say, do you want to do this? Do you want to try and do this as the level it should be? Do you want to scale yourself down and take on the challenge? Because World of Warcraft did it with its time walking dungeons. The whole time walking point was, hey, we're going to let you take on this challenge the way that you were meant to take it on, not using the power that you've gained over the last couple of years and power crept where it should be.
I think that's voluntary is a good option, but you'll notice something that is players won't voluntarily do it unless there is something to gain that they otherwise couldn't. Because don't forget, time walking is this really bizarre thing where you are scaled down to the dungeon, but you get max level rewards from the dungeon for the level that you weren't completing it at. And that was the only way they can incentivize people to go back and do it. They added it because people were like, oh, we'd love to go and revisit them with meaning. And I guess what they meant by that is just relive that experience. But after running it once, they realized, well, why am I doing this? Like, I've hindered my ability to clear this dungeon, and all I'm getting is the actual loot that I would have got from doing it at level 30. So
I suppose one of the parts that I'm looking at it from now is if I want to start a new MMORPG with a friend or have a friend come and join me in a game I've already played, my only real choice is start a new character. Because if I bring my higher level character down to them, it's no fun for them. It's just everything. I steamroll everything and take the challenge out.
Yeah.
Is there a way to bring the character that you have for a long time back to them and kind of voluntarily level yourself down so it's now challenging and engaging?
But then, that just begs the question, is that a problem that needs solving? Like, if the solution is there, which is create a new character and do the appropriate level content with your brand new friend, Because let's be honest, you're probably going to go back to your max level character as soon as possible. Let's say I go back and downscale to play with you on WoW from first level. I never need to loot any of that gear, so I'm just going to funnel it all to you. Because my gear is just going to keep scaling back up to the max level.
But does that make it bad funneling it all to that other player when the other player doesn't feel they've necessarily earned it?
No, that's exactly the point. Because think about it like this. I am actually a max level player, but I've come back down to level 10 to help you out. I literally do not need that gear.
Oh, I see. As in you're the lower level, yeah. Because Final Fantasy XIV scales you down when you do, whether it's dungeons with other people or the, what are they called? They're not flashpoints. That's in Star Trek: The Old Republic. What's it called in Duties? Duties? Is that the one?
Duties, yeah.
Or you walk into it and it's like something... Fates, that's the one. Fates, thank you. I've played so many. My name is just... My brain is now being fried with all these different names. But yeah, the idea of the Fates, you walk in and it scales you down. Because an MMORPG should have challenge for every level of player and for every skill level of player. I think what we're finding is limited is a challenge that a new player and an old player can team up on and take on together and both be challenged at.
Yeah, and some help desk in my chat has just said, show damage as a percentage of enemies' total health based on your level. So a level 20 player sees higher numbers, but the lower level player sees smaller numbers. WoW did this in Pandaria. And it became really demotivating as soon as people realized this, because you now realize that your power is completely an illusion. And you now realize that looking at that XP bar fill up isn't doing anything. Like, the XP bar is detached from all the progress systems. That you are as powerful at minimum level as you are maximum level. And the moment you realize that, you're just like, you know what? Why am I even bothering?
Elder Scrolls Online does that. I think it's trying to appeal to two different styles of players. You've got the players who want to level up and then have that power be constantly available at all times forever. So they know the power I've gained is stable and permanent. And then you've got players who care less about their own permanent power and more about being at that kind of Goldilocks zone of power, that any content they take on is challenging. They're not definitely going to die, they're not definitely going to succeed, they have the skill and the power and the level recommended to take it on, which is why in several MMOs you can actually stop yourself gaining experience. You can voluntarily turn off experience once you get to that kind of Goldilocks zone because you like that experience.
Yeah, I guess the fundamental problem here is they are two completely different player bases that should, unpopular opinion, but should never be crossed over. Because one's going to resent the other's opinion and they'll resent their opinion because they are two fundamentally different player types. Like, I like in RuneScape that if I take on a Slayer task that's really difficult and I'm just taking so long to do it, I can go, if I'm less skilled, and out-level it by a little bit and make it slightly easier. You're basically taking away player choice. And how do you know, the kind of how do you want to approach this situation is completely removed from you. It's now, you are approaching this situation this way, you've got no choice.
I think the best way, as you said earlier, looping all the way back to the start, is the idea of transparency and the idea of knowing exactly what you're going to get and giving the player a lot of choice. Because if it's a choice that no players ever use, as in, you know, we don't want to level ourselves down, but it affects just one or two groups of friends who want to use it, it might be a nice touch. You get a couple of friends who say, you know, hey, you've been playing for a week, we've been playing for 10 years, let's do this dungeon. We will voluntarily level our max level characters down to your level and we'll all go into the dungeon, so we won't kill everything in one hit. We have to actually play, and you might end up doing more damage than us because that's how the level scaling might work. So it seems to very much be a case of put the systems in the game that the players can voluntarily use to play the game the way they want to if they want to, but don't automatically take earned power away from them.
Yeah, and the level locking brought in a massive problem in WoW. The whole thing called twinking, where basically there are level brackets where power starts to fall off after a certain level, but then the level bracket you're in, there's someone more powerful than you. But you're now essentially less powerful in your bracket than you were the prior level. So what people do is they will lock at the most efficient level for the content they're doing, and they will get the best possible gear for that level. And you end up with this horrible, horrible situation where you enter content that's supposed to be within a level range for you now, and you will get decimated. And then they'll rejiggle the level brackets of where this works. And now you're now less powerful than someone who was actually lower level than you. And it's you can't balance two systems like that.
One of the interesting ways, one of the best ways I've seen this work is leveling the player down to the map they're on, but having higher level maps be available. So, you've got map 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and map 1 is designed for 1 to 10. You can level to 20 there if you want to, but your power will be capped at level 10. And then map 2 is leveled from 10 to 20, map 3 is 20 to 30. So you need to keep getting more powerful to advance beyond the maps to actually push through the game, but there will never be a point where you can go back to map 1 and exploit your level 60 power, but you can exploit your level 10 power, because that will be the top of it. And one of the things this does is it makes it feel that the challenges on the first map are still challenges 5 months from now. They're still difficult. It's always felt weird to me that the bandit leader that you meet first on the first map is then nothing compared to the bandit leader you meet on the 10th map, as if this world exists on a strange, peculiar, linear scale of power. All of the tough bandits go over to that map instead.
Do you know what the issue with that is, though? And this is an issue that every game that's tried it has found out, especially in PvP. You can take away their gear, you can take away their levels, you can take away their hit points, you can even take away some of their abilities. You cannot take away the years of skill that player's earned. And in pretty much every game, World of Warcraft's a good example, the skill you've gained over 4 years is infinitely more valuable than all of that was taken away. And then you've accentuated the problem because you've now put an absolute, barbarian of a player who is fully clued in on everything in with these absolute noobs, and he is trashing them.